Everybody, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Phil John's VIP. Tonight, oh man, we're going way back with this one. This woman that's coming on my VIP has been in the business forever. She has been a child actor starring in the original Kids of Degrassi Street in Toronto. And she has gone on to be in the business for now 30 years, or almost 30 years in the business, and has become the queen of pies, winning the Thanksgiving pie fight for the Food Network. And when I tell you she is talented, her work is sick, her pies are sick. Sick in the best way possible. Uber talented. And I want to introduce everybody and reintroduce to some, Miss Arlene Lott. Hold on, she's coming with me, and I hope we got it right. Now, look, we're individuals of a certain age, so give us time to work with this technology stuff. So, there you go.
It worked. Okay, that was really kind. Thank you.
No, definitely, man. I think you've earned it. You've earned that.
You said 30 years. We're pushing 40, my friend. I started on that show the summer I was 9 years old, and I'm turning 49 this year. So
yeah,
that's a while.
Yeah. That's a blessing, and to still look like we do.
Oh,
youthful. It's called less stress and a lot of water.
Right? I'm not just. I like that old, the Sybil Shepherd from Moonlighting, that whole diffuse, like, shoot me through his cloth. Like, just keep it soft. Nobody needs to know.
So what's been going on? What have you been up to as of recent?
Oh, man. I'm currently doing graphics on a movie for Netflix. It's a lovely little story. It's called 13 the Musical. And it's made show, so that's quite nice. It's a coming of age story about a little kid from New York whose parents split up, and he gets dragged out to Indiana during the divorce, and now he's coming up to his bar mitzvah, and he doesn't have any friends, and he's moved to this new little town. So it's a really sweet coming of age kind of story. Because I spent a lot of time working on shows with a lot of depth and crime shows, that sort of thing. I've been working on Coroner for CBC, which I think is on Netflix, so I think all you guys can get it down south as well. Okay. So I've been working on that for a couple seasons. I don't know, I just I float where I'm needed. So
I feel like do you find the work after all these years still fulfilling?
Yeah. Here's a couple of great things about doing what I do. Okay, so I'm a graphic designer, and I handle things like signs, props, cars, backdrops, things like that on the show. If we're sort of that top layer of the show, that if I'm doing my job right, you don't notice my job. Things work seamlessly. Two great things about what I do. One, every show is different. So there's always a new challenge. There's always research. There's always something interesting or quirky to get through. And I love the research element of what I do graphically. The other great thing about what I do is that every show ends. So it's kind of nice, right?
Absolutely.
From acting. Like, it's nice when it's over.
Yeah.
When it's happening, and it's also nice when it's over.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
When it's officially a wrap.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
There's that sense of satisfaction that you've done this thing. But what's curious about production versus performance, or theater in particular, we don't have an instant response. We don't get to hear that audience approval or whatever until the thing screens or airs or is released. It could be 6 weeks, 6 months, a year after we do all this work on it,
right?
And you watch it back and you're like, oh right, I forgot all about that.
Yeah, because sometimes it's not taped in order, so you don't even know what day you taped it, what was happening that day. It's just like it all comes together in post-production.
Yeah, I personally think it's a miracle that movies get made at all.
Yeah. Well, let's go back for a minute, because I know you and I could talk, and please forgive anybody who's watching, because Arlene and I, it's going to be all over the place. But I'm going to try to stay on topic.
Which is
Okay,
what?
let's go back for a second. Let's go back to Playing with Time Productions. And how did that all come about for you? How was Kids of Degrassi Street introduced to you? And what was that experience like?
It, for me, so I went to public school in the building that's literally right behind the original Playing with Time office at Queen and Carla. So I went to Morris Street Public School. I was in grade 4, I guess it was, and the principal had received a letter. Like, the people who ran Playing with Time kind of sent out letters to local schools saying, we're looking for real kids to do this show about real kids. They didn't want actors, they didn't want polished, which worked in my favor because I was actor nor very polished. And I was a chubby little kid. And where in Hollywood, or I mean Hollywood North or whatever, is there a place for that person?
Yeah.
In 1979, 1981, in around there, right? So they sort of were looking for real live kids to do this thing. And they had sent a notice to our school, and our principal had said, hey, anybody who's any good is in the school play. And I happened to be in the play. I was playing Dorothy. It was The Wizard of Oz. And so pretty much after that, if I'm remembering correctly, I was little. I don't really fully accurately remember this per se, but I feel like they reached out and said, we'd like to have a few of you guys come if you're interested. And
Okay.
So somehow a screen test application landed in my hands, which, I talked with my parents about, and they were like, I guess so,
Look, anything to keep you busy, that's fine.
Like, they came from a small town themselves and moved to Toronto, and I always felt really lucky to be able to have access to this wonderful city and everything that came with it. And this is one of those things. And just randomly went and auditioned, and they liked me. So I did some background work, and then eventually it was like, oh, well, maybe you could be this character. And then it was Rachel runs for office, and then it was a couple things like that. And it was fun. It was like this summer job, but it was summer camp, but it was like I was working, but it just felt like hanging out with my friends.
Right. Did you ever at any time, because I heard one of the conversations Monique had when she was filming Precious, and the whole thing with her having this issue with Lee Daniels, and is saying that I didn't know at the time, and this happens a lot, especially when you have friends who are filmmakers who do independent projects. You don't know. There's no way to predict what it will eventually become. There was no way to predict that it would get Oscar buzz, that it would get Golden Globe buzz. Now, Degrassi is one of those shows that I always say is the show that never fucking ends. Who could have predicted that it would go on and on and on and on, like the little train that just won't stop? Has it ever, in your mind, did you ever think, if I would have had the right management back then that could have negotiated some sort of deal and my name connected to this project, what it could have potentially become for me?
That's an interesting one, eh? The original series, so Kids of Degrassi Street, Junior High, Degrassi High, and then the movie that we did after Degrassi High, School's Out. Those were non-union gigs.
Mm.
We were, we had bought out contracts. We knew what we were going to make. That was, it was a lump sum payment. I would say and hope that the kids on the later series did better. But it's not like management would have helped.
Right.
At that stage of that show, not in the really early days. Maybe if we had gotten a little smarter by Degrassi High.
Yeah.
Maybe. Because then it was really becoming something. There were study guides and class things, and it had, really sort of branched out. But we weren't really aware how big it was becoming beyond us. We knew about awards. There were international Emmys. There were Prix Jeunesse awards. There were like all these wonderful accolades that came in, and we got to go to, the Geminis and have fun with, the big shot Canadians.
Right.
And, people started winning them themselves from our show. And it was like, oh my God. So it was becoming big, but I don't think we had an idea of where it was headed, even beyond that. Because, it's like we'd never seen anything like that before. How would we know where it could go?
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of times people don't put too much into it in the early stages of it, because you don't know. Who would have thought that, now you would have this like thing that goes from, and it transfers in from television into Netflix. Then it just goes on and on and on. And it's just interesting to me how projects that start like a little seed just grows, and you just never know.
That's it. And that's what I wanted to touch on earlier. Like, to me, it's a miracle anything gets made, right?
Yeah.
Someone has an idea, they write it down, they show it to a couple people, they're like, oh yeah, pretty cool idea. Why don't we make it? And then all of a sudden people get called, and I show up, and somebody else shows up, and they're putting down floors and cutting tiles and hanging lights and whatever. And all of a sudden this little idea has turned into this, 1,000-person project, and we kind of all come in, do our thing, and then go away. And it's so weird, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And exciting. And yeah, you may never know if you have something until it's out there. Or sometimes from the very start, you're like, oh yeah, this is special.
Now, you're the mother of a beautiful daughter.
I am.
Right. Would you allow her to go into the entertainment industry?
We have this conversation a lot. She goes to a school of the arts. She's an exceptional musician. I'm very proud of her. But that's a really good question. We support her in so many things. And what's really fascinating is about this, I'm like, I don't know how to support you in this, because if I'm working, I can't take you to set, or how do we, like, it turns into a logistics thing in my head, which maybe does her a disservice. I'm sure we could figure that out. But I talked to her about the heartbreak of performing and trying to, auditions suck, man. Someone's going to tell you they're their person. So it takes a lot of constitution, like self-worth and strength, to be able to navigate that.
Mm-hmm.
She's a sturdy personality. She can handle it. But it's now, the last year and a half has been bananas anyway. So, there's not and things happening for stuff. And I'm frankly not that in tune with that side of production right now. But I could make a couple calls. I don't know, make some content, learn some things. But it's a harsh world out there.
Yeah.
I don't wish it for her, to be honest.
I think the biggest aha moment for me is going to auditions and seeing people who I grew up on television watching, or bumping into them, waiting to go into the room, because the reality hits you that this is what it is.
Yeah.
Right? You work for this much time, but the rest of the time you're trying to figure out and be not only what the next gig is, but you're also trying to figure out how to stay creative, motivated, and also in the business as well.
Yeah.
And I think that was the biggest moment where I'm like, wait a minute, man, what are you doing here? Like, why are you signing in the signing sheet? You should be getting offers. I mean, you've been around forever, but it's, you have to love it,
So what's that?
You have to love it even when it doesn't love you back.
Yes. And what's that like when you walk in a room and you see 15 other people who are exactly like you, right?
Well, for a while, I thought I was the only Phil John walking around. For a while. And I'm going to tell you when that changed. I went into NBC to 30 Rock.
Yeah.
Was on. And I went into NBC for this, maybe like second or third time going in for the show. And it was simple. It was UPS guy. Right. Didn't have a name, just UPS guy.
Yes, guy. And
usually with network stuff is very you work for CBC, so you can know it's very corporate, right? It's not like, if you do a lot of commercials or maybe theater stuff, everyone did like studio spaces and people are always practicing in like the hallways. It's very corporate when it comes to network stuff. Mm-hmm. And they only allowed it like maybe 4 or 5 of us up at a time. And I was sitting there saying, okay, I got this. There's only one Phil Johns. Come on. When I tell you about 3 people walked in and we all looked like we should take a DNA test. Arlene, I'm telling you, I was like, what is
unsettling? Yeah. How are there more of me? Yeah.
Yes. That was crazy. Because up until that point, I'm like, I'm the only one.
Of course you are.
But no, not at all. Not at all. And that was the awakening moment as far as that's concerned for me, because it was kind of a surreal moment. Like, whoa, you know. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not as original as I would have liked to have hoped, you know.
That sucks.
But but I always try to encourage people to or younger people to just fall in love with what you do. Yes. And one of the biggest advice that anyone has given to me that I still use, and it's simple, it's just to pace yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard, right? Like working in the arts in general, because between this and my side hustle, which is the baking, right? Like, both.
The side hustle is the hustle.
The hustle? Yeah, I guess. But what's great about it is I love both of these things, right? Yeah. And one does kind of feed the other. And what's particularly fortunate is that because of my contacts in film in this town, like I get a lot of calls to do interesting prop food and things for shows, because some great props people and set decorators I know count on me to do some pretty things for their shows. And I'm so fortunate to be able to balance that. Yeah. And one does fuel my creative energy differently than the other. Which, I mean, can you ask for anything better? As a working
I think when and for those, again, I'm going to say this once again, like Arlene is like the pie perfectionist. I like that. She's the pie perfectionist. and an incredible cake designer. And every time she posts like a before and after on Instagram, like there's the before I bake it and then there's after I bake it. I always look at the things that you do that is so detailed. It's really art, you know. And I'm always like, damn, that's good. It's like you almost don't want to eat it. You're like, you're not giving this to people to eat.
The most from the most people, like, I don't want to cut it, but yeah, you have to cut it. That's what's great about this particular style of art, whether I'm working in pie crust or frosting.
Right.
It has a time, it has a shelf life. You have to eat it.
Yeah.
You have to. It's not going to go sit in your attic and get dusty and get it's not going to be part of the clutter, and you have to like, oh, my aunt gave me this and I have to decide if I'm going to hang it up or throw it out or whatever.
Yeah.
It's meant for you in that moment. And when I'm making those things, I'm really focusing on the person who I'm making it for, because it's probably for something very special.
Yeah.
Right? It's a birthday. It's a new baby. It's a housewarming. It's a, it's an anniversary. It's my favorite thing that people call me to be involved in their special moments. Like I get misty.
Yeah.
But it's, I'm really honored that people call me and include me in their events.
Before COVID hit, I was on my way to Toronto. I remember calling you, and I was like, I want something cinnamony, spicery, apple.
Yeah, let's do it.
Autumny, something. Yeah, because it's just like, those are some, and your custards, and just like, you really go in. I'm greedy, by the way. So I
want to eat all the things I make, so hard. It's hard out there.
I'm like, what's in that? And it takes time to do, because you are literally making the pie designs by hand. Not just filling, but the pie, the crust.
Yeah. So the pastry is all homemade. I
Somebody just chimed in. She makes a mean raspberry Charlotte.
Oh yeah. Oh hey. And I love that family. They're the best. Um, they that's Sabrina. The Yeah, you know what? It's the thing about pies, and I'm gonna say it's maybe like 7, 8 years ago. Like I've been doing graphic design forever. I mean, since I started in film as an adult in an art department. And
Yeah.
what's interesting about the collision of that, like I went to school for theater design. And so there I studied the history of design and the history of art. And I got exposed to all these wonderful resources of fine art and graphic design and things through, through the
Oh,
ages.
wait, hold up. Degrassi CSI just said they love her Degrassi Junior Pie in a jar.
I did Degrassi junior pies in a jar when we
Thank
did
you, Degrassi CSI.
so. Actually, this is like the second anniversary of when we all got together to do that. So that's nice to hear from you. Oh my
That's dope.
god. We Yeah. So I sort of take my art history, design history, education, and passion, and sort of throw that into pie crust as a media, as a medium. And there was somebody I came across on Instagram years ago, and I don't think she's on anymore, but it was sort of one of the first pies I saw that wasn't just like a regular pie, like a, double crust or lattice. Like those were sort of the only pies I knew about, or a meringue. And then all of a sudden somebody started making pictures out of their pies, and I was like, oh, that's a thing that I could do. And so, that's why, like, and I know a lot of people work in colors in their pastries and they do all kinds of stuff like that. That's not really my favorite thing to do, although I appreciate how it really punches.
Yeah.
I like good, like, tone on tone graphic design. So that means I have to be really careful with my pastries, and I have to anticipate what's going to happen to them in the oven. Like you said, like the before and after. And to be honest, the befores are, in my opinion, always better because they're exactly how I envision it. But you also have to kind of anticipate, is it going to puff up? Is it going to shift? What's going to happen when it gets all toasty and
right.
Done?
The 12 days of Christmas for me was like really showed your like gangster. It really showed the because I was looking at her the first year you did it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, what is she going to do for 9 drummers drumming? What is she going to do for like the create?
But that's kind of the problem, Phil, right? Because you get a great idea and then you use it and it's gone. And now what?
And it's like people start now. Everyone's like, well, what's next?
What's next?
What's coming next?
And I feel this truthfully, like I feel some pressure. Some Saturday mornings, like I'll wake up at like 5 because I'm that person. I'm like Martha Stewart, you know how she doesn't sleep? It's like that. And I get it now because she's a super genius. But I should have bought stocks on her when she was in jail. Anyway, boom, boom, firing at like 5 in the morning. And I'm like, I should get up and make this pie. And I'm like, do I have to make the pie today? I don't have to make the pie today, because some of the things are for fun, and those are the ones that I really, really love doing. And then some of the things are for work, and those are the ones that I really, really love doing.
It's like writing. I think when it hits you, it hits you. Mm-hmm. Like when that creative flow happens, it happens. And some things it's hard to recreate.
The Kawhi Leonard pie was that. I dreamt that pie and came downstairs and made it. That was
crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
What okay. Food Network.
Yeah.
What was that like? And winning, by the way. What was that like?
That was crazy. So I get called to do this thing. They're like, hey, are you interested? I was like, yeah, let's interview. So we had the talk, and they graciously offered me a chance to come on the show. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And so now the only thing that worried me the most was that it was going to be shooting in California in the summer. And
right.
It's like, doesn't like the heat. So I was just like, and so there were challenges. There were things he didn't think about, and the way they had the studio set up, where your table, like my table, was middle, and so the fridge was like 40 feet that way, the oven was 40 feet that way. So if you forget something, you're just like, there's all this travel time. Whereas in my own kitchen, I'm like,
Right.
stove, counter, fridge, like in a
Right.
triangle, like they say, you're supposed to set up your kitchen. And then, so
Well, is it set up that way on purpose to make it more difficult?
I would
Yeah.
assume it's by design, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes for interesting television when
Yeah.
people, right? And when your thing is melting and you got to run it to the flash chiller and you got to, or the blast chiller, and then you have to get it out and you're watching the clock and you're really watching the clock because there's just like, there's this much time to make the thing. And I have never been so anxious. Like, I think people who are watching it, they were like, wow, you look like cool as a cucumber. And I'm like, oh my God. No, it was 1,000 degrees in that studio. And I was just hopeful that it was just that I could pull it off. Like, that's the hardest I've ever hustled.
Were you shocked that you won, or were you just like, I'm just glad it's over?
Yeah. I don't know how those people do it. So I don't know how those people who do it like on those 10-week long,
yeah,
or 10
like Hell's Kitchen
of things. Like, I think they shoot maybe 2 days per episode or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's a long time. That's like 3 weeks hustling and hurting every day. Like, because it's hard. You are on your feet. Like, it is a long day, and you're trying to get it right. And nothing is what you have at home. So even your measuring spoons, they do something where, like, they're connected together, but they like clang all over the place. Like, it's just those little things that you take for granted at home.
Right.
In your own process. Like, when I bake, I like to say, some people do yoga, I do pie. Like, for me, it's my calm space.
Your zen.
It's my zen.
Yeah.
It's how I relax, or it's how I wake up easy like Sunday morning, or it's how I chill at the end of the day. Like, it's so peaceful for me. And so that was like the absolute antithesis to how I bake. Right? It was just okay, hurry hard.
Do you think you'll continue to do it as time goes on? Do you think you'll ever say, I just...
Like another competition show?
No, just continue to do that. Continue to just to bake and to have that be a part of your life.
I would rather bake than cook dinner.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I love cooking, but I would rather bake. So
will we ever see you back in front of the camera again as an actress?
I don't know. I don't think I'm very good, to be honest. Like, I don't think I don't think I cut it. But appearing as myself, sure.
Awesome. So the more food shows, definitely.
Sure. Like something like that. There's a little part of me that I often get encouraged, like I should do videos or have, more stuff available online. And I probably should. And I would like to. Like, the CBC has been very, very kind to me. And I've done some Easy as Pie, like an Easy as Pie series of food videos with them. And that's all available at CBC Life.
Right.
Those of you who have access to the internet, which should be most people who are holding a phone in their hands right now.
Yeah.
So I've been able to do a bunch of things for them, and I love that format. I love to teach. I think it's...
Yeah, I get the teacher from you.
Thanks.
I get the teacher energy.
And I love pie, and I think if people can make pie... Look, people love cake, but I think they remember from a pie. There's something about pie.
It's like home.
It's like home.
It truly is.
Every culture has one, right? Every culture has some kind of a pie, a hand pie, or a baked dish.
Yeah.
It is the comfort food.
It really is. And it's like, I love pie a lot.
Yeah, what's your favorite?
Old school Degrassi says, "Hey, Arlene."
Hi.
The original. So listen, I'm going through my 5 questions that I ask
Oh
everyone.
my gosh, right. The 5 questions. Here we go.
No, I don't think did we talk about these before? No?
You warned me there would
I
be five.
warned you. Okay, the 5 questions. It really, you can take your time and answer them however you want to answer them. It's cool. But
Okay.
it's light stuff though. I'm not crazy enough to ask people crazy questions.
Okay, good.
So what do you know about the industry now that you didn't? How do you feel about the industry now, opposed to what you thought about it when you first entered?
Hmm. Hmm. Uh, I don't want this to sound like a downer. Effective of um, being a maker rather than being on the other side of the camera. I think as an actor, we felt a little more cherished in our positions. I don't want this to sound badly. I think the people within my own departments cherish us and the work that we do and contribute to make a show. I'm finding that from up above sometimes on some shows. I'm not saying this one, I'm just saying
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
It feels like the creative process isn't as appreciated. Sometimes it feels like a bit of a machine and
Yeah.
less of a, let me say that. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's faster than it can create. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It's the business of art,
Yeah.
right? Like started in an art department, it was like we had time, and sometimes the creative people at the top were like really sort of lofty and light, and things were just more airy, you know?
Right. Right. Right.
But now it's like the business of art. Like the stuff has to be done, make the art, get it out, let's do it. And
Right.
that's okay too. It's just a different, it's a different twist on how it used to be.
Right. But you
There's no
don't feel
time.
you still feel like your creative gene is still there to be appreciated or no?
Yeah, we sometimes we still get to flex those muscles, but
Mm.
it's on a more condensed time frame. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like it's like focus that focus that creativity, like let's just bring it in and make it go. And that's okay. I like the idea of design on demand. I'm into that. That applies to pastry and to creative. But like I look at a show like who was it that Ellen DeGeneres' Design Challenge or Project
Mm-hmm.
Run, shows like that where it's like, okay, no, you have a budget, you have time
Yeah.
limits, make the thing, and it still comes out great.
Yeah.
So I sort of like there's the nice part of that, the pressure of that. I don't think is necessarily bad, but
Right.
sometimes it comes from a really exciting and motivating place, and sometimes it comes from we don't really care, just make it place. So
Because you're not overthinking it,
no,
right? You're
we're trying.
allowing your instrument to use itself, to be used by the powers that be.
That's right.
What advice would you give your 19-year-old self?
Oh, where was I? I was in university. What advice? I think I would tell her to be not so hard on herself. I think I would tell her to love herself more. I had a lot of fun. I was at university. I had a great time there. I don't think I really was comfortable in myself at that point yet. You're
Yeah.
still worried in your late teens, early 20s about what other people think about you. And this is the one amazing thing I've loved about getting older is that whole sort of I don't give a crap about what you think about me.
Yeah.
Yes. You know,
And
it's
it
not,
gets a little easier as time goes by.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
So, what feeds your spirit?
What feeds my spirit? Um, wow, that's interesting. I'll say being a mother is a big one. Having the gift of my gorgeous and talented daughter around me. She fuels me. She inspires me. She is a great drive for things that have to get done and things that I wish would get done. And
Yeah.
that's it's nice to have that kind of the reason to wake up in the morning kind of thing. Like she's the number one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Mm.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Getting heavy. This is getting heavy. Legacy. You know what? Honestly, because I don't think about this that often. I want to raise a good human, and hope I'm on track with her and with her dad and stepmom. I think we're raising a really great person. Part one. Part two. To leave a legacy as a graphic designer in film, like to try to teach the people behind me. Like I think it's part of my job every day to teach the new members who are coming up in our union, and I'm lucky I get to work with apprentices and assistants and all kinds of people who can benefit from some guidance. I hope that we can leave a legacy of good filmmakers. I hope I can leave a legacy of pie makers behind me, who will watch videos and learn and try for the first time, maybe just try to make something that they didn't know how to make before. I hope I leave some inspiration that will last behind.
Do you think this generation, the younger generation, is open to listen and to be guided?
That's interesting, isn't it? If I'm trying to think about myself when you say younger generation, like I'm thinking about, my daughter's age,
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm like. Her age group, teens, early 20s.
yeah, I don't know if I was ready to be taught by my own parents or by the people close to me at that point. I think I was looking for guidance outside of my inner circle. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I was more likely to take training or education from professors or
yeah.
mentors in industry than I would be from my peer group or my parents and
What
their.
about in the workplace? Do you think younger people who are just graduating from university, do you think they are willing to learn from your years of experience? Do you think they come in thinking they have already kind of cornered the market on
Mm,
this business?
that's interesting. I mean, school is so different now.
Hmm.
I think when I graduated, I think we thought we knew things. I can't see that changing. You've just spent 4 years really focused on a subject, and I would hope you come out confident and thinking you know your stuff.
Yeah,
Um, I think that's good. I think it's great to have a little bit of hubris, but not like, yeah, you do need to be willing to absorb,
yeah,
right? I like those people. I like the sponges that come out, but not everyone is a sponge.
yeah.
You know,
I was definitely a sponge.
were you a sponge?
Anything you could teach me,
Do you
I
see?
was willing to learn
Some people come out and they're like, "No, I'm good." Like
it. You
okay.
know, and I think to some degree, I think I still like to be guided, and I always approach everything as a student
Mm-hmm.
because I don't believe, that I know everything.
Mm-hmm.
Life has taught me that
But
I
when did
know
you
everything.
learn that you didn't know everything?
When did I learn?
Yeah. Did someone have to tell you, or did you
Oh,
actually?
life kicked my ass. I have to say, within the mid to late 20s
Mm-hmm.
into 30s, life kicked my ass, and I realized that I didn't know as much as I thought I did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that there was more life to live and
Mm-hmm.
more things to learn. And I get further ahead approaching life as a student because people are willing to teach.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it. I have to listen more. I know this about myself.
You got what?
I have to learn to listen more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's hard to do, but yeah, you listen. People will tell you everything you need to know. So my last question to you:
Okay.
what are you grateful for?
What am I grateful for? Hmm. I'm grateful every day to live in this place with all these opportunities. I know how fortunate I am to to have been raised by good people in a safe environment, with access to really anything I ever needed. I'm
Yeah,
grateful every day. it's overwhelming to think about the people without needs or without like just basic needs in this country. And I
Hmm.
just, yeah,
Yeah.
so much gratitude and knowing my privilege in that.
And I think the older we become too,
Yeah.
um, what we become really grateful for is not the big things. It's the small things that we took for granted probably when we were younger because they just existed. But the reality is that the small things don't even have to exist.
Well, here's the really great thing. I think just even asking what are you grateful for? Like the happiest people I know are people who have found gratitude in general.
Amen.
Um, there's a serenity in gratitude. It's so simple. And even on my worst day, oh my God, I get to make movies. Like I saw this interview, it was a long time ago with Jamie Lee Curtis and Oprah Winfrey. And Jamie Lee Curtis had taken some time off work, and when she had her children and when she was ready to go back, she was explaining to her children how she gets to go to work. And that sentence, not I have to go to work, but I get to go to work, really uh, shifted my focus. I
Yeah.
go to work. How great is it?
Yeah.
I get to work in a business where
Arlene, don't get me emotional, man. I'm looking at your eyes and I'm getting it right here. And I'm like, oh,
with a waterproof mascara. But that I get to do that. I get to live here. I
yeah,
get to make pies. I get to make people happy with food. I get to, create for my job. And even if some days those days are hard, I still get to do that. It's
yeah,
ridiculous. How
yeah,
fortunate,
yeah. What a blessing it is, right?
actually.
And you don't know how many people, how many lives you touch just by that, how many people you affect by that.
I hope that story helps somebody. That's
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely. Thank you so much, Arlene.
Thank me. Thank you.
Thank you for, taking the time to come and chat with me. And, I use this platform, I tell a story all the time, but I use this platform to celebrate my peers, to celebrate people who I see are doing well. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to at least come on here and say thank you. I want to be intentional with everything that I do. So I want to be in a position that if I'm going to put anything out into the universe, that I want it to be positive because I want positive things to come back to me. And I love seeing people win,
It's fun.
right?
Yeah.
It's fun seeing people win.
It's great to lift others up and to watch them do those things. It's great.
Absolutely. So I'm always, whatever you do, like I'm always sharing it. I'm always like, listen and promoting it. And hey, listen, if you're in the area, hit her up, buy a pie, you know, because I think it's more than just the pie, but it's also, there's a saying that, things taste sweeter when it's made with love, right?
It, they're all
Right?
that's the thing.
So if it's made with a lot of love, it tastes all the more sweet, you know. So
Yeah.
I say thank you again.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll do this again, maybe on camera or off camera.
Where am I going? You know.
All right. How you guys doing up there? You guys are lifted yet?
Well, we're how are we doing like vaccine wise and stuff like that?
As far as like open, are you open at least
We
50%?
just. Oh, I don't know that we're 50% though.
Okay.
We're just in our very early stages of reopening in Toronto. Toronto has had a really long lockdown experience.
Yeah.
Um, but it seems like the travel things are lifting and the borders.
Right. Listen, I'm getting CHFI again, so
Oh,
I'm happy.
that's the end. That's the sign that things are
That's
right.
the sign that
That's
there's brighter days ahead.
yeah, so all Christmas all the time. And, yeah, yeah. We could just let's throw on some Mariah right now. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Arlene.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful and blessed day. And we'll be talking soon. Definitely, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Arlene Lott. Hit her up.
Thanks for coming.
Stay blessed.